everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, oh, religion's weird now.
You guys,
Oh, they do weird things.
Here's some stuff. Look, here's the thing. We all know that, like, we can all point to a weird thing that some religion does that we're all like, whoa, that is crazy.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about those, but also I'm going to just remind us all that we're just going to remind us all that, like, there was stuff that feels pretty fucking normal. It isn't. Like, there's stuff that we're just all used to
Right.
that is very, very weird. Anyway, religion's weird, and we're going to talk about the weirdness. And also, like, why? Why is it so weird?
Why does it have to be weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of part of it. But anyway. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Dan. I've got a story for you.
Oh, you're excited. I like it.
Zachariah Kiowa.
Okay.
Too many vowels right in a row there. I don't know what to do with them. He was employed in the UK at a hotel where he worked as a linen porter.
Okay.
Which sounds fancy.
But it's just the guy that changes the sheets.
He changes the sheets. Anyway, Muslim man. And the hotel was having kind of, it sounds like an annual like employee party. It was in January. This was back in January of 2017 when the incident took place. That's central to the story.
Skun-dun-dun.
But only recently resolved. So there was at employee parties, there's often like little prizes, right? And there'll be like a drawing and everybody has a ticket and everything, or everybody's name gets put in. Well, there was one of the prizes that was up for the drawing was a bottle of cognac.
Oh.
And, Muslims don't drink, right?
Sure,
Alcohol.
right. Yeah.
Or they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And so, but this guy, he wasn't there at the party, but they wanted to honor the fact that he had won a prize. But his colleagues were a little concerned that maybe giving him a bottle of alcohol wasn't the most appropriate prize, right?
Well, then let's just give him the side of bacon.
I wish that's what had happened.
We can't do that? Well, then give him the puppy. I don't know. What do you want to give him?
No, there was a box of chocolates that they substituted in.
Okay.
And apparently, his supervisor sort of told him what had happened.
Sure.
And I really wish that I could do a really good Ricky Gervais voice, being the manager in the office.
Right.
But he says to the guy, if someone has got a nut allergy or a nut intolerance and they were given a box of chocolates that contains nuts, do you not feel it would be appropriate that we then change that prize, on the night? So this Muslim guy, Kioya or whatever, he says, it's different. He says, they don't want that prize going to me, and they've used my religion to get what they want. I felt really ignored and humiliated and not cared about.
Wait, what?
Okay. So this whole thing ends up going to a tribunal.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because he filed a complaint. Apparently there's this Equality Act that the UK passed in 2010.
Right.
That, it protects people in the workplace is probably one of the things that it does.
Right,
against discrimination and whatnot. Well, anyway, so the tribunal comes back and they say that a nut allergy is an illness, a life-threatening illness. It is not acceptable. It is not an acceptable point of comparison.
Right.
It minimizes the importance of Mr. Kiowa's beliefs and practices.
Sure.
Except here's what I want to say, which is it's almost too strong of a comparison, right? Because it's actually something that's innate about somebody.
And that could threaten someone's life.
That could, exactly, right? Whereas this is something that people change all the time.
Right.
Like people, every day, people are converting to something else.
You're not
crazy...
inherently Muslim. Like
Right.
you're not genetically Muslim.
And you're the one, ostensibly, who has chosen not to follow its edicts about
Right.
alcohol, right? And your
they're
coworkers
actually trying
were
to
looking out for you.
Yeah, they're trying to acknowledge it. Now, I must say, like, if it was a nice bottle of cognac, if it's like a $60 bottle of cognac and they give him a $10 box of chocolates instead, maybe that sucks.
Well,
But it sounds like he's just raising a fuss.
He did say that it was a cheap box of chocolates, but I just have to cry foul on this one. This is so ridiculous to me. The tribunal says the point is not that the swap was well intentioned. The point is that it should not have been said, just as the decision should not have been made to change Mr. Keogh's prize. Both are on the grounds of his religion, and neither should have happened. Both are offensive and caused him distress.
It's so stupid. It's just one of those things where it's just like, you gotta pick better battles, man.
Absolutely. The hotel was ordered to pay £2,000. That's about $2,500.
Jesus.
For, quote, injury to feelings. I can't handle this one. Right, like this whole injury to religious feelings. Like, you hurt my religious feelings.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings.
This just sounds like a money grab to me. He just smelled blood in the water.
He's like, I didn't get my bottle of cognac. He was probably like a secret alcoholic.
Fine,
and cognac, for Christ's sake, like.
Oh my God. I just wanted to look at it. I didn't want to drink it. I just want to have it. But they didn't let me.
Yeah, to be honest, they should have given him the opportunity. They should have said, hey, we know you're Muslim. You may not want this. We have another option if you want to go with that instead. Or you can keep this. I don't know. Somebody here would probably pay you.
But it does seem like their hearts were in the right place, even if they said some stupid shit or what. Like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
I mean, who knows? He might have worked with some real dicks. And they were like, we fucking hate that guy. He doesn't get the good ball of cognac. Oh, yeah. You know what?
Yeah, maybe. We don't know the whole situation.
Excuse. But on the surface, it does seem like people were just trying to be like, he doesn't want that. Give that to somebody who wants it.
Congratulations on your 2,500 pounds or 2,000 pounds or whatever. Good job.
2,000 pounds.
Because you've now alienated everybody in your workplace. So.
Well, he quit.
Oh, okay. Well, enjoy that. I am going to keep us in the UK, where some changes in rules, very briefly, were very discriminatory.
Oh.
So, all countries, all places right now in the world, our current world, Earth, have to figure out how to deal with this whole COVID-19 thing. It's still a problem everywhere. Right. We I'm afraid nobody's achieved herd immunity yet, including Sweden. It's just a nightmare. So in the UK, they've been working with rules for masks and et cetera.
Yeah.
And the size of meetings that can take place, et cetera. And they were doing okay for a minute there. They had a thing where you can't have too many people meeting to congregating. No more than 6 people allowed to meet in public spaces, with a few exceptions for quote unquote significant events. And until just recently, you could have 30 people attend a significant event.
Like a wedding? Like, what's a significant event?
We're talking about a ceremony that was like a rite or a ritual for your religion, or a wedding, a baptism, a funeral, that sort of thing.
Okay. That's actually okay, cool.
I'm down with that.
If you're going to make an exception, that's You know, because I mean,
Yeah.
it has been a bummer. People have not been able to, have their weddings and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's tricky and it's hard. Whatever. That's no excuse to be stupid. Like just
No,
because,
of course not.
And I have seen way too many of my friends on Facebook be like, "Woohoo, gathering for a wedding," and I just look at it and I'm like, "Yeah, you guys came from all across the country and then commingled. What's the matter with you? Put on your mask. Stand 6 feet apart. I don't care how much you love each other." Anyway.
God, you're fun, Dan.
Look, I'm just a realist. I'm just acknowledging the reality of our situation currently. Anywho, the things have gotten worse in the UK, so they needed to lock some shit down a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is something that our state needs to learn to do, or has done a little bit. Anyway, so they decided the way that they decided to lock down was to limit the crowd size from 30 down to 15. That was the cap. That was the cap on people attending.
Makes hard
the
to bring a
thing.
+1.
Yeah,
Odd
yeah,
numbers
it
don't
does.
really,
Well, you got a priest there or whatever. That
there
makes
you
it
go.
odd. So
Okay.
then everybody. Anyway, but there was a trick in the wording of the thing, because the original wording was that you could have the higher numbers if it were to, quote, mark or celebrate a significant milestone in a person's life according to their religion or belief, such as events to celebrate a rite of passage or entry into particular faith other than a birthday or coming of age, or to mark a person's death, or to celebrate life, blah, 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 blah. And then it said, for the purposes of paragraph 5b, a reference to belief includes a reference to a lack of belief, which is an odd way of wording it, but was meant to sort of carve out space for, humanists or atheists to also have weddings.
Yeah.
well-
okay.
Well, when they made the more recent lockdown, they cut out the line about a reference to belief includes a reference to a lack of belief. So,
Ooh, no. Really?
yeah. So that did not
Bastards.
appear. Yeah,
Oh,
Boris.
no.
Thanks, Boris Johnson. Which meant that
Seems
if
like
you
an odd thing to do in the UK, right?
if you were it meant that if you were a Christian, you could have 15 people at your wedding. If you were a humanist, you could have your 6. That's cute, right? They did very recently re-update the thing to say, okay, we meant everybody, sorry, FYI. But for a while, they were stonewalling the atheists or the Humanists International, who were trying to work with, who were like, hey, what about us? Hey, everybody, hello. And they got nothing. They finally were able to get through, and apparently they got it back to where it was.
good. Good. Oh, that turned out okay.
Yeah.
I was the middle there, Dan. I was really worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was compliment sandwich or whatever.
Right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
I have a story about something that I think went exactly as it should have gone.
Oh.
Which we're lacking for those stories by and large these days, in the news and especially in this country. This took place up in Idaho, a little place called Moscow.
Oh.
Do they say it Moscow, or do they?
I think so.
They throw another little twist on it. Is it like Moscow?
I think they also
it
have
Moscow,
there's a
Idaho?
Paris, Idaho, and a Moscow, Idaho. I don't know how they say it.
Well, I'm going to say Moscow because that's how it's spelled.
Yeah.
They, of course, they have some religious crazies. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah,
they're
way
everywhere.
Up, they're way up north in Idaho, I think.
Yeah,
Moscow's
but
like, so that's where you get like the real nutballs.
Right, but I'm also not going to blame Idaho on for having some crazies, because the religious crazies are fucking everywhere right now.
Oh yeah, we got
right?
them. We got them everywhere.
So
This is the United States. It's like one of our main crops.
Yeah. So there was a church by the name of Christ Church in town there that was having, according to them, they'd been having these psalm sings, they call them, in protest
Wow.
of the town's or the city's mask order. Right.
Oh, great.
So
Because there are definitely relevant psalms about masks
I bet you could find one.
and disease. Yeah.
Anyway, so they were having a good old fashioned psalm sing,
A little sing psalm.
psalm sing, and the police showed up. Apparently, they warned them,
Yeah.
telling them you were in violation of the city's mask order, and
Right.
also our social distancing order. And so some citations were given out. 5 people were cited for violating both of those orders. And then apparently, not like all hell broke loose or anything, but the whole thing led to 3 arrests of people who were resisting or obstructing officers. Right?
Wow. People actually got arrested?
People got arrested. These police officers was like, we're not having this.
Was it
Even though
the
it was
3 people who
religious.
happened to be like people of color? Was it the 3 black guys?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's a good question, but I don't think so.
Okay.
So of course, the church members are just crying foul.
Oh, they're
They-
raising a holy hell about
they-
it, I'm sure.
They said, I think they wanted to make an issue out of it. They wanted to flex their muscles because we had already done psalm sings in the past, and they wanted to make us an example out of us. And so
my
they
God.
warned us that they were either going to cite us or take us to jail.
yeah.
Okay, they warned you.
Yeah.
You
You were
knew- you
breaking the
knew.
law, and then they said, hey, stop doing that, or we have to do what we do when someone breaks the law. And they
Yeah.
were like, well, that's just not fair.
So the chief of police, a man by the name of James Fry, he says the city has a 90% compliance rate when it comes to masks. But he added that at some point, education has to turn to enforcement, and that's what happened on Wednesday.
Okay.
So
Well-
like this is great. Like I'm not hearing about this happening anywhere.
No.
Where the police actually are just like, here, we're citing you.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, you're being snots about it? Come here. You're under
Yeah.
arrest. I know the cops aren't super popular right now, but
No, nor
I am-
should they be. I mean, I'm not an all cops are bastards guy. But look, it is almost impossible to be a cop and participate in the racist system and not you end up not, you don't have to be a racist, but you end up participating in racism. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
and also the mask thing is just such bullshit.
Anyway, I thought it was a good cops story. To
Hooray.
make us all feel better about
Hooray.
police officers.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot with the mask thing. Like, I get it. It's not. This isn't because everybody is out right now. Everybody that's doing any kind of protest right now is just hoping that the police start some shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, anyway. Speaking of protests, or rather, like big groups being out.
Okay.
I'm going to take us to D.C., Washington, D.C., where our nation's capital was descended upon recently
Oh.
by thousands of Christians.
Oh, no.
2 different groups of Christians descended on D.C., one organized by New Jersey pastor Jonathan Cahn, and the other by famous son of a famous evangelist, Franklin Graham,
Oh.
Billy
Okay.
Boy's kid. Both, I don't know. What are they doing? Franklin, for his part, Franklin Graham insisted that this was not a political thing. This was not a rally for Trump, in spite of the fact that whenever he talks about any issue, he just sort of uses the conservative Trump playbook in terms of how he talks about anything. But he insisted this was not about, if he talks about the Democrat Party, he talks about socialism. If he talks about, racial justice, he just talks about how it's a bunch of thugs or whatever, and the Democrats are, it's only happening in Democrat-controlled states or whatever. Anywho, they just sort of, these two different groups at the same time went to the mall, which is not a shopping mall, but rather, in D.C., the big area between the Lincoln Memorial and the state and the United States Capitol.
So, did they know that the other group was going to be there, or was it like a surprise?
I'm going to guess that the pastor, the New Jersey pastor, sort of just hitched his wagon to Franklin Graham's thing.
Okay.
Is what I'm going to guess.
Gotcha.
Or rather, he just did his at the same time, and then he could claim that the huge numbers were his. Anyway, it was all very stupid. It was all, they all decided they were going to go to all these, like Graham had this whole, like, we're all going to walk from the Lincoln Memorial. We're going to meet at the Lincoln Memorial, and we're going to pray. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to go to the World War II Memorial, and we're going to pray. And then we're going to go to the Washington Monument, and we're going to pray. And then we're going to go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and we're going to pray. And then we're going to go to the National Archives, and we're going to pray. And at each of these, it's like there's a different focus. When they were at the Washington Monument, they're going to pray for salvation of the lost, renewed strength in our families, and solutions to the coronavirus pandemic, and to end abortion. So, it's all of this stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And, when they went to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which, boy, that makes me nervous, that group going there. But they're going to pray for compassion and kindness towards one another, respect and reconciliation between the races, and healing in communities torn by violence and injustice. All of these are moments where a bunch of Christians are going to go and do nothing. They're going to talk to their imaginary friend and then actually take no action to make any of the things that they're quote-unquote praying for happen. But one of the best moments was when a whole bunch of evangelicals, and I can't tell if these are, I guess a bunch of them doing that when they got to the Washington Monument, basically thought that they were at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and they all just put their hands on the building, on this big obelisk, this giant obelisk, and put their heads down and basically, prayed at a building for no reason.
I don't want this to be a thing.
It was a bizarre moment. I don't know if anybody tried to stuff written prayers in between the blocks, but yeah, they basically just, there's a tweet that went out that was just a photograph of all these people touching the building. It looks like the Western Wall, only stupider. So that happened. You and I considered playing a clip of what's his name, of Patty Boy, of Pat Robertson. Just Roberts? Wait, why can't I think of what his actual name is? Robertson.
Pat Robertson.
Basically saying that this was such a good thing that happened that he anticipated 5 years of paradise to come. Well, see, I got news for you. There's no way the next 5 years are going to be paradise, but okay.
But Dan, when you surround an obelisk and everybody prays, it actually focuses, right? Yeah. The prayer upward.
It just shoots it straight to God.
It's just this prayer beam to God.
He's just like Tron.
Yeah. Totally. So I think that he
might be onto something.
He might be onto something. I mean, I wouldn't doubt such amazing prayer power.
Okay. Good. I hope it happens.
5 years of paradise? Boy, I hope that happens.
Right.
And I do. I hope he's right.
I guarantee you that
Except
won't
it's not
happen.
the paradise I want.
Well,
Right.
if Donald Trump wins,
Oh God,
nobody gets paradise. That's for damn sure.
we're fucked.
I make no guarantees about what happens if.
Will he
if-
just jettison the all the religious folk at that point? He's just like, fuck you, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, we'll see. No, he needs his third term.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, go on.
All right.
What's our next thing?
Dan.
Okay. Whoa. Yes, I'm ready. I'm braced.
So the Atlantic this week
Uh-huh.
broke a story that apparently, and this was kind of big news for a minute. Donald Trump has spent a good amount of time mocking religious Americans behind their
Oh,
backs.
right. Yeah, I did see that.
And I saw the headline and I was like, oh, I'll get around to reading that. And I mean, I should have just like raced to go read it. But then I noticed that the Salt Lake Tribune picked it up and had the Mormon spin on it
Oh, yeah.
because of course he would mock Mormons.
Right.
Of course he would. I don't know why I didn't think, oh, you got to go read this thing because definitely
for
one of the
one thing,
most mockable groups in America.
Yeah, it's an eminently mockable group, and one of their most prominent members is his arch nemesis. Like,
Yeah.
he hates Mitt Romney.
Exactly. And so anyway, apparently he had spent a little bit of time blaming a kind of a common theme, I guess, was him blaming Mitt Romney's Mormonism, right? His
Oh.
membership in the Mormon Church for his loss in the 2012 presidential election.
Right, because people thought he was a weirdo.
Exactly. And so the guy who reported this story is a guy by the name of McKay Coppins, who turns out is Mormon as well.
Sure.
And what really got him thinking, it took him a while to fully pull this thing together, was that he had a 2014 conversation with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump started to go down this road of like Mitt Romney's exotic faith had cost him the election, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the reporter wasn't clever enough, or maybe also didn't think that he should maybe bait him a little bit to see where this goes. He interrupted him to say that he was also Mormon, right?
Right.
As a good Mormon is going to do, right? He's going to announce himself.
And also, this is, you said it's 2014, right? So this is
2014.
before anybody would take Donald Trump seriously as like anything other than a
That's
like
fair.
game show host.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But he says he quickly changed his tack, extolling, this is him speaking, my church's many virtues, and then switching subjects.
Right.
And he says, I've always wondered what Trump might have said if I hadn't cut him off.
Right.
Well, and then there's these other reports of him saying things. I guess he mocked the all the pastors who famously laid all their hands on him in the Oval Office, right, and prayed for him and blah blah blah.
Right.
And after they all left, he turns to his aides and he goes, "Can you believe that bullshit?" Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
He's on record, I guess. Yeah. Well, no. He's told aides that televangelists are all hustlers, which they are. He's not wrong about that.
No.
And to be honest, he's not wrong about the pastors. That is bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's also not wrong probably about Mitt Romney having a hard time connecting with broader America because he's got a weird religion.
Because he's a member of a bizarre little cult.
Yeah.
Or a huge cult.
So the reporter ended up talking to Michael Cohen, right? The Trump's personal
lawyer.
attorney who just who just got out of prison
Right.
for being Donald Trump's attorney.
Right.
So he had talked to him at one point, and he said that Trump frequently made fun of Romney's faith in private and was especially vicious when he learned about the religious undergarments worn by many Latter-day Saints. He said, "Oh my God," Cohen said, "how many times did he bring up Mitt Romney and the undergarments?"
Oh,
So-
well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
But this is really important because the Trump campaign, obviously, we know the affinity between the evangelicals and Donald Trump. That's,
Right.
Okay, that's clear. He's got them locked down. They are his supporters. Mormons, though, have been a little bit more of a slippery religious group for him to lock down.
Right.
Utah only voted 60% for Donald Trump in
Which is-
the 2016 election, which is just bizarro. And it means that there was
Which is high, meaning he won, but shockingly low for a Republican to take Utah.
right, exactly, because Mormons have always voted in lockstep, essentially. Not
Right.
there's no religious mandate that you have to vote Republican or anything,
But there
they've
basically is.
But they have voted in lockstep for Republicans, right?
Right.
And you would expect, considering sort of the religious makeup and just everything, politics in Utah, you would expect Utah to go about 80% for
Right.
the Republican, right? Well, so Trump really desperately needs to win one of these Western states. He's not going to lose Utah, right?
No.
But he needs to get one of these that's like, that could go either way, like in Arizona,
Right.
which has a large Mormon population,
Yeah.
to go his way. And so he's been courting the Mormons like mad. Like, this is terrible news to come out right now.
Right.
But there's some funny little other details in here. According to two senior Utah Republicans with knowledge of the situation, Don Jr. has been so savvy in courting Latter-day Saints, expressing interest in the church's history, reading from the Book of Mormon, that he's left some influential Republicans in the state with the impression that he may want to convert. And this is huge for Mormons. Mormons
Yeah.
like. Do you remember the actor who played Bull on Night Court?
Yeah.
Right, was Mormon.
Richard Mole.
And this was like did you know? I mean, Mormons were just like, and the Gordon Jump on WKRP in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Like,
We are dating ourselves, but yes.
but I remember this as a little kid. Like, Mormons loved, there were like these like nominal
they know-
B-list celebrities.
They know every
Right.
celebrity who's a Mormon.
Right. And so the idea that Don Jr. might be interested in converting,
Oh,
like,
he
and
is
he's just
not
playing
interested.
them,
Oh my
right?
God, he doesn't give a fuck. Like, Mormonism would have to be a pro-cocaine cult for Don Jr. to even consider it. Not just okay with it, pro.
Yeah.
That has to be
It's
one of the sacraments.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so this really couldn't have come out at a better time, just to counteract whatever, Trump world is trying to do with
Right.
Mormons in the West, in other states. I mean, the Tribune reporting on it and pushing the story, I don't know how Mormons are going to react to this, but they don't like being attacked.
No.
Right? And they don't like being made fun of and mocked at all.
Well, they like it in the sense that, like, they, like so many Christians, need to feel persecuted.
right, but they don't like the
But they
person
don't wanna-
mocking them.
They don't want to feel persecuted by the guy that they're voting for.
Exactly. Right. And so,
Yeah.
like, God, if they could play this up, who knows? Like, I don't see a lot of Mormons. Like, I can see Mormons maybe sort of, oh, I'm just not going to vote for the guy. I don't see them then voting for Biden instead.
Right.
But if we can just get rid of some of those votes for Trump.
Right. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
We'll see. Now that, yeah, I mean, he's still going to take Utah. There's just no chance. But those
yeah.
other states, you're right. It's
But
that's a more interesting thing.
I do love it, though, when Utah has, like, a really bad turnout for him. Because it's
Right.
frustrating for him, right? Like,
Yeah.
he needs all the adulation that he thinks he deserves. So,
Right. All right. Well, I am going to take us now to Iceland, that mystical land of ice, which I actually love that place. I went there once and it's beautiful. Anywho, there's a church in Iceland called the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Iceland, which published first on their website and then actually on public transportation there in Reykjavik, a really a sort of interesting cartoony little image. I can't actually translate the Icelandic, so I don't know what the words say. Something about Sunday school or church or something like that, and welcoming you to it. And it's a cartoon thing. It's got little kids, a little cartoon kid singing, and and another one reading, and I think one of the kids has 5 o'clock shadow, which I don't really understand, but that's fine. And then it's got a rainbow in the background.
Nice.
And an image of Jesus sort of frolicking.
Yeah.
He's wearing sort of gladiator sandals and a white robe tunic thing.
Sounds very Jesus-y.
It's very Jesus-y, with the possible exception of the boobs, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Like boobs?
Jesus very clearly has a set of breasts in this image. Which he's got a beard.
Okay.
Got the mustache.
I mean, describe.
But it is a cartoon Jesus with boobs, and possibly makeup on. I see maybe a cat eye and some rosy cheeks and some a nice sort of muted scarlet lip.
Okay, so let me make a prediction here.
Oh, okay.
Let me
like
guess
this.
as to where this
Remember,
might be
we're talking
going.
about Iceland. This is the place that produced Björk, so we don't know. It's hard to predict.
It is hard to
how-
predict, but and then I guess there aren't that many. Maybe the outrage wasn't so much amongst the Icelandic population, or was it?
No, it was. Unfortunately,
Okay.
there was enough. There were enough Icelanders who were heartily offended by this
Really?
genderqueer Jesus that they ended up apologizing for. But it was one of those apologies that was like, "We're sorry if anyone got hurt," and they did pull the ads in the in the public transportation, and they removed the image from their website, which I think is a wrong move. You're sending exactly the message you want to send.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall where they may, you guys. Come on.
So, the crucifix over their altar, does it have a breasty Jesus?
I don't think so. But I do
Was this
love that
just,
they were just reaching out to, they were just saying, look, let's genderqueer it up a little bit. There's no reason why we got to be all cishet about everything.
Yeah. Well,
Let's have some queerness.
Yeah, and I mean, he's made up anyway, so you might as well make him up however you want to, right?
Yeah.
Like
And look, everybody picks and chooses what they think the Bible says and means. So, but why not pick and choose the welcoming, loving, sort of all are welcome here message from Jesus, and let that and show that visually by giving him a nice rack. I don't see what the problem is.
No, nobody likes it when you mess. Well, I enjoy it when you mess with Jesus, right? But
Yeah.
and you enjoy it when people mess with Jesus. But people who believe in Jesus, they don't want you fucking with the Jesus, right?
Yeah.
You just don't. You cannot screw what was that Brazilian show where it was gay Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and that caused a real hubbub. Molotov cocktails, if I remember right, thrown at the studio.
I mean, it's not like they made him black. Come on. Or even brown. He doesn't even. I mean, maybe he looks like he could be Middle Eastern. It doesn't really matter because everybody's focused on
The boobs.
the secondary sex characteristics. It's a very important thing, apparently. So, There you go. I just think it's actually kind of a cute image, and I was like, I was pretty pleased to see it. So there you go. And it was produced not by us, not by like atheists messing with people.
Believers.
But believers themselves. So there you go. Hey, listen, kids, if you guys would like to chat with us and give us your opinions about Jesus with boobs or anything else that we've talked about today, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, there's more show coming up. Dan,
Yeah.
there is somebody who we've played a number of times. He's a complicated person in some ways.
He's a complicated man, and no one understands him but his woman.
Yeah. Jesse Lee Peterson, who...
We're not talking about Shaft? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
He just... Boy, he just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, this is to remind everyone, this is the black man who has repeatedly talked about how black people need to get less uppity.
Yeah.
He's a peach of an evangelical guy.
Yeah, he's a
And
mess.
he is weighing in on Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee for what's her name?
Amy
Coney
Coney
Barrett.
Barrett.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Coney. Yeah, not Comey. Like
Not Comey.
It's Coney, like a hot dog.
Like right, or a rabbit in the Bible.
Ah.
I think. Anyway, let's hear Jesse Lee Peterson's hot take on Amy Coney Barrett.
This woman supposedly have 7 children, 2 of them adopted from another country, and they black. But yet, she does not stay home and raise the children. At which tell me that this woman think that she's above men, and that she is a man, and that she can go to work and raise children and be like a man. It's not true. It is literally not true. This woman is on an ego trip like Natty going north, and she's no different than a liberal feminist. It's just with a different name. But you're going to live to regret this, because if she's not decent enough to stay home and raise the man's children, she's not going to think straight on the court. Believe me.
Wow.
Oh golly! I hope he never gets injured and is at the emergency room and a female doctor comes in.
A lady doctor?
A lady doctor.
Go home and make someone a sandwich. I need a real doctor.
I need a man.
Give me a man.
I
can't.
Oh my
You can't.
oh
Yeah.
God. I mean, I know that in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't too long ago when this sentiment was actually majority sentiment. And to be honest, I know that there's still a lot of progress to be made, but when you hear it in today's context, even though she's a conservative and she's a religious conservative and so forth and so on, she's also an educated woman, right?
Yeah.
And she also has the kind of experience that typically sets somebody up for this job that she's being offered.
Yeah.
Right?
But this guy of all people should be thrilled by this
He
woman.
should
This
be.
woman
This
woman wants to set up the kingdom of God judicially. That is her goal, her kind of stated goal.
Yeah.
But man, this guy is something else. Can I just say, by the way, I looked him. You've seen images. You've seen the video.
Yeah.
You know what he looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna make a comment about you're too young to have this opinion or whatever.
Oh,
So
I
I
don't
looked
think
up how
so.
old he is.
Yeah, he's
how old
old.
do you think he is?
72.
Let me tell you something. Black don't crack, because he's 71 years old.
Is he?
I would have put him.
I was that
would've-
close?
You were really close. I would have put him in his 50s.
No. He's old.
Yeah, it's the
I don't
you
know.
can't
I don't know
age-
how I was able to
intuit
hone in
it?
on that, but like I look at it, I don't see a young 50-ish year old man.
50s is well, it's younger and younger the closer we get to it, but it doesn't feel like I wasn't. This guy,
Dan. Yeah, like he's a funny one, isn't he?
my gosh.
I guess the worst thing I can imagine somebody saying, I should just assume he's going to probably say it.
Yeah,
But I still don't really
Yeah.
have a good beat on exactly who he is. So
I
that's a
just
funny
you
one.
know, he's antiquated even for a 72-year or a 71-year-old. Like that, his views are like. Yes, he lived through the
I don't know.
50s, but you have to be in your 30s in the 50s to have those views. Like you can't have those views.
No, because there's always like a little bit of a lag, right? Like believe me, he's speaking to a lot of people. Well, probably not that many people, but to plenty of people who feel exactly like he does, and who are
Yeah.
a lot younger than him too. I bet, right?
Yeah. Here's what's amazing is that Amy Barrett, I almost feel like she's like halfway to agreeing with him. If she didn't like actually still want to be a jurist, like you read, she belongs to like the Handmaid's Tale cult, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So whatever. Fine, I'm gonna move on. We're gonna read some emails. We got some voicemail. You'll remember, Frank, that we closed out last week's show by talking about our call to action, the thing
Yeah.
that we're actually fired up about,
Yeah.
which is we, as nuns, as humanists, as atheists, need to start following the playbook of the evangelicals.
Yeah.
We're several decades behind them.
Yeah.
But they put out a call to engage politically, and we're putting out the same call. So
Absolutely.
we had some folks write into us about it. This is from Louie, who says, "Hello, Frank and Dan. Great call to action, guys. I have experience in Chicago politics and am well connected to assist a potential person seeking to be a candidate.
Whoa.
Currently, I live in Chicago. I'm 41 years old. I ran for local political office when I was 19
Whoa.
in Whitewater, Wisconsin. I did not win, as I ran against an incumbent that owned a funeral service company and had 5 foster kids. He was was a good person. I didn't know what I was doing then. I moved to Chicago in 2004 and have worked for an elected politician for 6 years.
Nice.
Anyway, ultimately, a person seeking future office needs to be volunteering now for a small political campaign so they are exposed to the different things that can occur on a campaign. Being part of a large campaign like a presidential campaign will not provide the best experience to run for local office, but it's better than nothing. Anyway, we had actually multiple people write into us and say that they are willing to help out. We are going to make it our goal to try and make connections. If you need, if you want to run, if you want to, to start looking into being a political activist, let us know.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try and put together a little corner of our website for it. We're gonna try and make some things happen for some people.
And there
so
are various levels to this whole thing, right? Like this is
Totally.
not it's not like, oh, I don't feel like I'm a good candidate or that I'd have the time or this or that. Okay, well, like Louis said, right? Like there's also volunteering, right? For campaigns, local they need so much help. They don't have staffs. They just need volunteers
Right.
to show up, go distribute lawn signs. I did that once, years
but just
ago.
watch how the process works.
Actually, I went out a bunch of times, right? And just like,
Right.
and just went went out. We had a list. It was like people who requested a lawn sign, and you just like there's little things, and then you like you're meeting the people, and you're hey, I can do this is what I do for a living, so I think I could probably help you guys out with this if you need the help, right? Like there's ways to kind of ingratiate yourself and get yourself in there, and so like it's not just about running for office, right?
Absolutely not. It's about being part of the system, being part of the political system, and engaging. And so we're encouraging that. So yeah, I mean, especially if you're in the Chicago area,
sounds like there's a great asset there.
Yeah. But also if you're just anywhere, sounds like, and we're gonna also have guests on coming up that will talk about the process.
Yeah.
So good stuff is coming down the pike, but this is our thing now. We, again, not for this election cycle, but for the future. We want to encourage you to think about running, or to think about
being involved,
like
getting out there.
Getting involved.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you've got a friend that you should be encouraging to run.
Yeah,
that's another. You know what I mean? Like all of this is good. We also heard from Nurse Erica. This is on a totally different thing. Who decided to write in and say, I confess I like to eavesdrop on private conversations, especially conversations between MAGA hat wearing, Bible camp shirt sporting shoppers.
Oh, okay.
Some places are fucking gold for this, like the big hardware stores in Target.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On a good day, my local grocery store is a goddamn John Waters movie. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. My last trip to Target yielded especially appalling fruit as I caught a family with matching Bible something or another t-shirts. It was a tight 5 of potential. So I brazenly followed them to the sheets and towels. I didn't know if I was going to get the full Monty or just a Bon Mot, but I was in shopping cart anthropologist mode and feeling lucky. I had to follow them to the electronics before I could hear them because the youngest was screaming for Spider-Man or some shit. Mom, with a perky keto ass and blonde hair that could have done with a touch-up, busts out with, "Black, black, black. Everything is about blacks. Why do they have to push it on the rest of us? Damn."
Oh.
I didn't stay for the follow-up because I was afraid I'd pee my pants. Wow. I don't know where Nurse Erica lives, but yeah, that's there is, if you can handle it, there is definitely some crazy out there to be witnessed.
I love eavesdropping. Like, it is absolutely one of my favorite things. I mean, like, with this whole like not being able to eat out, like, it's just tragic for me because, like, I love listening to the table next to me, like, and their horrible conversation about whatever.
Yeah,
it's so much
I'm never
fun.
able to do it. My hearing is not such that it can hear above the general noise.
Oh,
I can hear the people who are in front of me, especially seeing their lips move and whatever.
Yeah.
But if there's a general buzz around, I can't hear what other people are saying.
That's too bad. It's so much fun.
But they can listen in on what I'm saying, and it's always fascinating. Anyway, I'm going to play us a voicemail since we had some voicemailers.
Yeah, so Dan, this is what I love about this voicemail, right? Is that we touched upon something. We talked about churches being turned into others. What could all these excess churches be turned into, right? As time goes on and people keep and I've been surprised at the level of like response and continued response that we've gotten from this, and then it just clicked that of course this is like Schadenfreude in a certain respect, right?
It's delightful.
Of just like seeing another failed church. Well, let's use that building for something else, and maybe even something that they wouldn't have liked, right? It's so good.
Okay, so let's play the voicemail.
Hey, Frank and Dan, it's Matt down in North Carolina. Heard one of your callers calling in and talking about another use for a church building. My hometown of Barberton, Ohio, has many more churches than they needed, and the population is declined by about a third in the past 20 or 30 years. So these old buildings are sitting around. Well, one of them was bought, and they ended up converting it into a gym. And when I say a gym, I mean a full lifting, you name it, every weight they've got gym. I've done bench presses on the old altar area. I've done some cardio up in the choir loft. It's a pretty cool building. But look up State Gym if you're ever in northeastern Ohio. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Nice.
Yeah, he says that like we would actually go to a gym, either of
Yeah,
us.
look, I'm past my gym years. Okay, that ship sailed. My exercise consists of brisk walking at this moment in my life, but that
And
sounds
heavy
good.
breathing.
Yeah, somebody on Facebook posted about a skate park. There are and I googled it. There are a couple of skate parks in old churches.
Oh, really?
Which
Oh, that's fun.
is kind of amazing. St. Louis has one. There's one in Spain. Anyway, I think that's a great use for it.
Yeah.
Go and launch off of the cross or whatever. I think that's great. One more email I think we'll do. This is from Zach, who says, "Hey, Frank and Dan. Just listening to your latest episode about the Young Dumb Party company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about these guys. They're down in Provo, Utah, throwing parties and not caring about COVID and getting people very, very sick. Anyway, Kwaku was already known in Provo for being an asshole before all this COVID stuff. He was on Provo's Most Eligible, the Mormon Bachelor TV show. Yikes. Yikes that exists. Apparently he was on, anyway, last year he was on that and is somewhat part of DesNat, the alt-right Mormon Twitter group.
Yeah.
Which, you guys, you and I need to talk about DesNat
We've
at some
talked
point.
about it. I brought it up a long time ago.
That's right.
The
That's right.
Deseret
The Deseret
nationalism.
nationalists.
Yeah.
Deseret being a Utah thing. Anyway. Anyway, apparently he was on the DesNat alt-right
God.
Mormon Twitter group, and people already didn't like him, but it isn't surprising that he is continuing to be an asshole. But you guys mentioned the BYU Democrats group, and were surprised it even existed. It's actually significantly larger than the BYU Republicans group.
What?
This is probably because being a Republican is just expected at BYU.
Right.
But liberal students want to meet up with other Democrats. The BYU Democrats events that I went to often had close to 100 people, sometimes more. I was in the poli-sci major, and most of my professors were conservatives, but the majority of students in the major were liberal.
Oh, interesting.
I'm sure if you poll students who are doing other majors, it would be overwhelming conservative, but there is a large active group of liberal students at BYU, especially in the social sciences and humanities. Well, that doesn't surprise me. I transferred away from BYU because of the honor code controversy last March, but thank you guys for helping me stay sane last year when I was among all the Mormons.
Oh, nice.
Congrats on getting out.
No
well done.
kidding. Oh, my God.
And yeah, that's interesting
I mean,
stuff.
I was being a little disingenuous about, Democrats on the campus and everything. But
Yeah.
because
Well,
when I was there, like I do remember like somebody who was like kind of in my little circle, who was a registered Democrat, and that kind of blew my mind at the time. I was like, "How are you Mormon and a Democrat?" And she's like, "Oh, there's so many of us."
Interesting. Yeah, that must have shook you to the core.
Oh, in the 90s? Provo? BYU? Democrats? Yeah.
Shocking. Well, do we have some folks to thank?
Dan, we do indeed. We have 3 new teachers, Dan, to thank. These are people who went to thankgodimatheist.com and signed up on Patreon.
Yeah.
We've got Greg to thank today. We have Casey.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
And we have Melissa. So thank you to the 3 of you for signing up.
Yeah.
This is really important. It's how we keep the show going. It's how we're looking to grow the show and do more things. And
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we're not playing ads anymore, and it's because
of you guys.
You guys.
Yeah.
It's because we are all patron. All of our donations or all of our money comes from you.
Right.
So go do it.
We're officially truly listener supported, which I think is just it's the right thing for our show. So
Yeah.
and then always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Bebas.
Hey, Frank.
Dan. Hima?
We should do the whole rest of the show in tongues. Fuck you guys. We don't even care about you anymore. We're just doing the whole show in tongues.
Well, let me tell you, you watch one of these services where they're doing nothing, where it's all in tongues, and it's like, who is this for? What is this? Nobody's learning anything here. Nobody's being instructed. Right? There's no values being taught.
You do not have to be a linguist or a language scientist of any sort to recognize no language is being spoken here.
Right.
You are not channeling the Aramaic tongue of old.
Right.
You are not in some way speaking forth the talk of the ancients.
Right.
You're just saying nonsense syllables.
Even like Star Trek knew that they had to create some fake languages, right? With rules.
Yeah, and they created languages with syntax and with
these other species, right? That it sounds real, right? Because it is technically a real language. But this it's like, like just waggling your tongue around.
You're like literally, okay, so what got us started thinking about this was a video that came out, and I don't even know what's happening. There's probably 12 people in a line on a stage. And, the truncated version of this video just starts with a guy just blathering about, you have to vote for Donald Trump because he's the only guy, he's so godly. And then he turns to all of these people with him in line on stage and goes, pray now, in tongues, go. Yeah. And suddenly they launch. Let's play a little bit of it.
Torah bas elivot nevesh nuku ram bande bos nuku ra fiot neshe kala nahora paha ha 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 ha.
Yeah, Dan, this was not their first in tongues talking. These people know what they're doing, except maybe that one woman who gets stuck on ha for a while.
You guys, she descends into, she's been going for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 and they're all, and every now and then you catch one of them peeking to see, are we still doing this? We are? Okay. And they're like, some of them are making real serious faces, and they're gesturing real serious, and they're like holding their hands in prayer position, but they're shaking. And this one woman in this amazing pink sparkly blazer, suddenly she and her husband, her pastor husband, have stood up, and they're going to sort of take the lead on this. And she descends into a ha, 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 ha. And then she hears it. There's this moment where she hears how stupid what she's doing is and laughs at herself. And so it's like, ha, 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 ha. And it's amazing.
Dan, you couldn't understand the joke.
Yeah,
She
apparently.
just like the spirits said a joke through her, Dan.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was like,
yeah, exactly.
Ha, 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 ha. Oh, good one, spirits. Is
Good
that what
one.
they think? Is they think it's like the Holy Ghost speaking through? What do they think? Are they channeling something? Or is it,
You know what's
or is
funny
it literally
is-
just a practice in making absurd sounds? And they're partially aware of that.
They are aware of it. Here's the thing. I've heard people who speak in tongues explain it as both. They believe both things are happening at the same time. They don't believe that they're saying something that needs to be translated into words for all to hear. It's spirit talk. So like it's like they're talking directly to your spirit. You can let your brain just sort of pass over it.
Wow.
And just go straight to spirit. I have a friend, and boy, we did not grow up with this here. I didn't grow up with this here in Utah.
No.
I'm almost surprised you didn't encounter it in Oklahoma, because
It's kind of really
there's a-
Pentecostally, right?
I'm not sure who all does it. I think more than just the Pentecostals
Really?
do it.
I to be honest, like it's not like I ever went to other churches. Like my
Right.
parents would not
Right.
have been cool with me going to a Baptist church. I don't even know.
Well,
I don't think
let
Baptists
me tell you
do
something.
it though.
Let me tell you something. My friend who lives in Atlanta moved there from here and told me that one time she was working at a makeup counter in Atlanta, and one of her coworkers was basically like, "Oh, we'll get you to speak in tongues. I'll free up your tongue. I'll loosen your tongue.
What?
You'll be speaking in tongues."
That's weird,
This is a Mormon girl
right?
that was being told this, but like, yeah, it's a thing that they do. And okay,
They just get
guess what?
together and speak in tongues, like
Anybody can do it. You're just going. You don't have to be in tune with the spirit to go. You're just making nonsense syllables.
it's so fucking
But
weird.
I just wanted to talk about it because look, that is weird ass shit. It's meaningless,
Right.
and you would think that kind of weirdness would be a problem because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is an uncomfortable thing to witness. It's an uncomfortable thing to be near. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that, my friends, is not a bug. It's a feature.
Well, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like it's like any ritual, right? Like as you participate in it, even though the first time it's foreign and weird and maybe creepy, right?
Yeah.
Now, once you participate in it and it becomes comfortable, now you're part of the fucking group,
Yeah.
right? And group activity, group experience is really powerful in creating the sense of community and sense of belonging, right?
Yep.
And so
and beyond that, weirdness, purposefully uncomfortable things, things that exist nowhere else in society, lock you into that. That what they do, like the first few times you do it, they'll warn you too. They'll be like, "This is gonna feel weird. Just go with it a few times. Trust me. You're gonna think it's crazy,
Right.
But trust me, you just go with it a few times, it'll start to feel more normal. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah." And that is a psychological trap.
yeah.
It is specifically designed to make you feel that weirdness, so that once you've bought into it, anything's okay.
Yeah.
Once you've gotten over the weirdness of it, suddenly all the talk about magic doesn't sound that strange. All the talk about miracles and whatever, it's just not that weird. They almost need something that feels so out of the ordinary, something that doesn't exist anywhere else. And it's all religions that do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't, sort of Catholicism's been around for so long that the idea of, sitting in a place in a really like unique building, having incense waved around, having someone intone a prayer, hearing the music, the organ echoing through the stone chapel, all of that is very, very strange.
Going up and being given a little piece of bread or
Yeah.
host or whatever they call it, right? Like,
Yeah, they're going to give you a snack that tastes bad and that it's meant to be a man.
right,
Like that is creepy and weird shit.
right.
And that's the point.
But that's
of
what
it.
makes you Catholic, right?
That's yeah.
And this
it's
crap
what
is,
sets
is
it apart.
what makes somebody Pentecostal. And for
Right.
Mormons, it's the stupid underwear in the temple, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you've been raised in Mormonism and you're like, everything, like a whole bunch of shit has already been normalized for you that isn't normal. People crying in front of everybody else that don't ever cry in their lives, or, people just 3 hours of torture a week sort of thing.
I love that you go
And
to
then
the crying. It is so weird, though.
It is
Mormons
so
are such
fucking weird.
criers.
And then you go through the temple, which is both insanely boring and crazed at the same time. Like these rituals that you're not used to at all. And then you have to wear these weird underwear. Once you buy into it, once you say yes to it, you are so much more likely to just say, okay, well, I'm part of this now. This is me now. This is who I am.
Yeah.
We do this.
Right.
It's a very powerful psychological manipulation.
Yeah. Well,
So-
it starts to actually beg the question of like how many of these groups can actually probably be defined as cults, right? Like
Sure.
like the definition that we obviously we tend to describe smaller groups and newer groups as cults, but if they're
Right.
working off the same, if they're using a lot of the same mechanisms, some are just going to be more extreme groups than others, right?
Right.
But like if you're Jehovah's Witness and you leave and you're shunned, isn't that kind of what cults do? And
It's 100%
I'm
a
sure
cult.
most people are perfectly fine with me applying the term cult to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
But
I mean, what we're talking about when in this definition of cult, because there's a bunch of definitions
Yeah.
of cult, but in this definition of cult, we're talking about a high demand religion that exerts an undue and crazed amount of pressure on its adherents, and is very, very controlling.
yeah,
Well, guess what? One of the methods of that control is this weirdness.
yeah,
So, go ahead and buy into the Hamanachaka, and suddenly they've got a little bit more control over you
yeah.
because they're they made you do something so strange that somehow your brain has to justify why you're doing something that weird. And the only reason why you're doing it is because it must be true.
yeah. Well, it's also expected of you as part of the community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very strange thing. Frank, why don't we should in the show notes, let's put the link to those to that video, because it's just cuckoo bananas, and then everyone can watch for themselves, because it's actually a lot of fun. I don't know. Once you're out and you're looking at it from an outsider's perspective, all religion is so just fucking nutty.
yeah. It's funny though that when you're in it, you're like, yeah, but mine's fine,
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like that, because like I knew that shit was crazy the first time I saw it. I didn't need to be told that, right? Like,
Right.
I didn't have to be outside of religion in general. And so it's just like, it's so amazing to me, the in-group aspect of the whole thing as well, where it's like, yeah, but our weird is the one that God really likes.
Well, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
We get it. You're trying to be weird to garner God's favor because you figured it out too. He likes weird shit. But guess what? We figured out the real weird shit.
Yeah, somewhere in the United States of America, some pastor is going, God, those Mormons are just fucked up. Now somebody go get the rattlesnakes, because I've got to hold them for the church. Somewhere that's happening. And I remember, Mormons being so snooty about other religions,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how obviously crazy
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody is, all the religions are crazy.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, if you would like to tell us about the way in which your religion was particularly cuckoo bananas, please write it into us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button. You're going to enjoy it.
And also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also find us on Twitter at TGIAtheist. And if you like what you hear on the show, please think about supporting us by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the support tab.
And don't kid yourself. If you've gotten this far into the program and then you like what you hear, you just go and shoot a couple bucks our way. Come on. Don't be a cheapskate. Listen, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.